They hid the truth in shadows, but every heart can find its light. We heard the silence and the quiet, feelings lost behind a veil of doubt. Step by step, our voices growing, breaking chains they tried to keep us bound. Every whispered lie can't hide the hope we hold. Every gentle truth will guide us through the cold. Like dawn across the darkest night, we lift our dreams into the sky. One heart, one voice will shine the light. Together rising, we will find the why. Steps of courage move the mountains. Softest words can break the mold. In each seed of truth we're planting, see the world transform before it's cold. We gather all our hopes and dreams, reach out in love and let it be. One tart across the darkest night, we lift our dreams into the sky. One heart, one voice will shine a light. Together rising, we will find our own. Hand in hand, standing through the sky. Together rising, we will find the why.
Bryan is innocent. Bryan has been essentially convicted in the media. He has a right to have this information withheld, brought out in public, so that people can see it's not this neat little package. So people can start to wonder if Bryan's innocent. Your Honor, Bryan is innocent. So if I talk about things that are in the affidavit, and if I talk about things that we're seeking that the state wants to hide, I think that's fair game for the public to hear.
Wow, you definitely know how I feel about that intro. You know, what was the state trying to hide? If you don't know, I'm Phoenix. This is Phoenix Talks. And this is an after hours. Yeah. It's kind of late for me and probably pretty late for you. And one of the things I want to talk about tonight is this freaking witness list of 50 plus people and what really happened in the IDAHO4. Because as you all well know, 2 mysterious unknown DNAs and a whole slew of documents that will blow your mind. I have been digging and looking through all my old files, and I found a few doozies. So let me do this. Let's all say hello, usher you in, say a quick happy Friday night to you guys, gents, ladies, and let's dig into this because this is wild. I'm going to welcome you in, Aggie, Critic Rick, always on time. I saw your notes. I saw your comments. We're going to get the show on the road. Dun, dun, dun. Heck yeah, I'm finally here and on. I hear you, Wicca. There's some crazy stuff floating out there on the internet. You know, I believe in truth and less rumors, but the more I think about that, who the hell would cover these bodies with blankets? Who would do such a thing? So grab your late night drink. I've got my tea with chamomile. And let's get going. Hey, Dottie, eyes wide open. Caleb in the house. Karen, I'm so glad to see my amazing, beautiful mods in the house. Karen, misinformation. Hopefully everybody can hear me pretty well. The storm is not too bad, not too good. It's still going. They think the worst is going to come in at nighttime, but everything's done. Yeah, we've got a lot of rain coming in. Who says they're still under? Oh, you're still on the underwear issue. Hey, I will tell you, I was just as shocked as you. You know, all the information's hidden in plain sight. We just have to clear our minds, focus on what is there and present, and put the pieces together. And the more and more we learn, the more pieces to this puzzle will fit together. And we just have to stay focused, either individually, collectively, and it's all there in front of our eyes. It's just, when are we going to get it? And I think we all know by now, Bryan Kohberger is factually innocent. DNA was not there. But I have got a screenshot from early May 2025, April, May. I've actually got two. The witness list was a joke for the state. And like I said earlier in our live, it was one or the other. They were going to diffuse all the testimony from the frats versus the experts and the professionals. And that's exactly what it was going to do. The state had nothing. The state had nothing on Kohberger, guys. I still find it odd that President Trump tweeted on his Truth Social, commented, posted, whatever you want to call it, that there was no nothing. No nothing, guys. So what does that mean? This whole case was a sham? They picked up the wrong guy? They made it try to work but got caught it wasn't going to work? So the document that I found that was in my old repository, Bryan Kohberger makes bombshell claim about 2 Idaho murders killers as judge considers if family will testify. What a twist on these words. What a freaking twist. I want you to drop a 1 if you would have loved to seen a trial, because obviously there was no trial, but 50 plus witnesses. What was the strategy? What was the strategy? I think it was just to make the state look dumb, all their witnesses dumb, bring out a whole host of very strong character witnesses for Bryan Kohberger, because he knew he didn't do it. He knew his DNA wasn't there. And how in the freaking world did Bryan Houdini Kohberger do this? That is the mystery question we should be asking. If they say he did this, he took a plea deal, how in the world did he pull this off? I understand he took a plea deal to save his life. You never know what's going to happen in a jury trial, folks. You never know what the jury will decide. That is a huge gamble, and I am sure that Ann Taylor was not willing to gamble her client's life to the death penalty, because you do know that Idaho was planning to build a new facility to make sure all those on death row will be executed quickly. Because the minute that they had the state-of-the-art up and running facility where they sit them in the chair, they go into another room, push the button, it's an automatic firing squad, boom, boom, boom. They come down, they take the body, they hose the room down, and that's it. They bring the next person in they're going to execute. And that's what they are in the process of building. I was in Boise at the time this was announced about the new state-of-the-art room that they're making. That's what this probably was about. But in April, it says Bryan Kohberger plans to claim that 2 killers and 2 murder weapons were responsible for the brutal murders of 4 Idaho students. Did he solve this crime? Did he solve this crime, folks? And this was back in April in a bombshell revelation in court. The accused attorney, Ann Taylor, said the defense will argue at trial. They were ready to go to trial. That more than one person slaughtered Ethan Chapin, Xana Kernodle, Madison Mogan, and Kaylee Gonsalves. More than 2. This crime of robbery / crime of passion shocked America. So shocked that we're still trying to figure it out when the state has no motive and they can't prove crap. They can't prove crap. You believe the fix was in. Do you mean a fixed jury? Is it a fixed jury? So this witness list that I shared with you today earlier on the live, I have gone through the complete list. Granted, there are maybe 1 or 2 people that I have not been able to locate on the defense witness list. And exactly like I said earlier today, even before I was able to take a look at it, all these people on this witness list, the majority of them are professionals. Yeah, now we need to put Bryan Kohberger's name on the list. Absolutely. As a witness, can you imagine if a defendant was a witness for the defense and not give his own testimony, but be a witness to what he uncovered? Wouldn't that be wild? Caleb, he was ready to take on the state of Idaho in the prosecution. Wouldn't that be freaking wild? One person to take down the whole justice system. And I believe, honestly, he will eventually. Because if he is exonerated, think of the repercussions in regards to the justice system. That is a loophole. That would be a thesis. That would be a PhD quality experiment, study, thesis, whatever you want to call it. That would be freaking wild. And while he's walking away with a load of bank account money, he would have solved his own freaking crime. How did he do it? Did he get someone else to do it? Or is he truly, factually innocent? He was ready to go to court, bring everything he had. Boy, that would have been amazing. So, now earlier today, we mentioned that his sister Amanda was on the list. She is number 2. That would have been the defendant's phase 2 mitigation witness list. Now remember, this is mitigation witness list. This is not a witness list just coming in and we're going to question you. This is the witness list if he was found guilty. If he was found guilty, this is phase 2. Now, I want to be very clear when I say phase 2 of a sentencing jury trial. The jury trial is witnesses, they come in, they testify. Phase 2, it involves hearing statements from the victims of the crime, and also during this sentencing phase 2, they can also have statements from not just the victim's impact statements, but other statements. Because we're talking death penalty, a capital case. Okay? So in a capital case, I'm going to go through this real quick before we get into who was on the witnesses. I'm sure you guys had plenty of time to look and see who they are. First, you have pretrial, right? This is the stages of a capital case. You have pretrial, arrest. They write an affidavit. They go arrest. They do the arraignment. They do a preliminary hearing. And then all throughout there, they have conference statuses. And then they obviously grand jury, the indictment, information, pretrial motions, And that can go on for like 2 to 3 years, because in a capital case, it's a long time. And then obviously the guilt phase of the trial is jury selection, and they have to determine that death qualified, right? Then they go through the opening statements. Then they put the prosecution comes on, and the government has the burden to prove the defendant's guilt beyond a reasonable doubt. Now, in my humble opinion, if they went to trial, we did the whole mock trial, DNA trial. I think, in my humble opinion, they may have found him innocent, not guilty. There had to have been some reasonable doubt, and I believe there's plenty there. I don't think Ann was willing to gamble with her client's life. But then the defendant puts on the case, the rebuttal to the prosecution's evidence. Now, knowing that there was 24 inquiries or wanting more evidence from the prosecution, Ann kept going back. I need more information. I need more information. And at that point, the state wasn't really answering, because they had seven motion to compels, which means they weren't handing over the evidence, maybe because they didn't have enough or have any that would show he is guilty. Now, when you think about the stages and you get to the defendant's case and then the closing arguments, then they go to the jury's instructions. And then you get a verdict, finding out whether the defendant's guilty of the charges that has been proved beyond a reasonable doubt. Then they get into the penalty phase trial, which basically is talking about facts making a crime worse or serious by certain circumstances of the crimes, right? If there is a murder of more than one victim, aggravators would be a murder was committed in a heinous crime or a really atrocious manner. And I would say that would have qualified. Mitigating circumstances, which that are facts that do not justify the excuse or the offense. It could be reduced based on moral culpability and reduced. So that would be like mental impairments, deprived background. They take that into consideration for mitigation. Then they go through the victim's impact statements, the jury sentencing recommendation. Then the sentencing takes place. But before the sentencing takes place, the jury, basically the Supreme Court, let me go back. The United States Supreme Court held that defendants are entitled to have jurors rather than a judge. So the jury gets to recommend whether the facts of the case make them eligible for the death penalty. So the jury decides, right? Just because the prosecution says we're going to seek the death penalty, the jury still has to approve that, okay? Beyond a reasonable doubt. And I don't think, in my humble opinion, he would have been found guilty. Now, I'm not an attorney. I'm not a professional. I don't know. I'm just saying, by what I've learned from these court documents, what I've learned from the DNA, I don't know how they would have presented it, but I'm sure Ann would have found a way to get them to understand that. But obviously with Hippler's big discussion about trying to explain this to the jury, just they threw out the IGG because it didn't make sense to go and try to explain this to a jury. They just threw it out, which is crazy in itself. So obviously they really couldn't have a trial. So when you think about the position of, they said he wasn't going to do any appeals, he can't motion for a new trial, and he's basically going to spend the rest of his life in prison, but his life is spared. The only thing that could possibly happen is a post-conviction review, which basically they petition the court and the state they're in to say, hey, I'm being held against my own constitutional rights. My attorney was ineffective, and there was prosecutorial misconduct. And the juror misconduct doesn't matter here because there was no trial. And then they go through federal habeas corpus, which basically means, hey, get me out of here. I want a federal judge to take a look at this, and we're going to go through that process. And one or two things could happen. Go through that process, petition the U.S. Supreme Court, and basically see if he can go through the Court of Appeals that way, and then clemency or exoneration. So it is a long, long process. And when you begin to look at that long process and think, the state really didn't have much on Kohberger. They didn't. And Bryan had to figure it out way before he got arrested. And I think he left us clues along the way. How did he even know that he might be in this situation? How do you think that he would have ever known that this would be his fate? Anyone? I think he was protecting his family. Absolutely. I think he took the fall for somebody. I don't know who. But yes, there were Brady violations. Yes. Critic Rick, you are absolutely correct. Absolutely correct. And on those merits, why would they even agree to a plea deal? Well, obviously the state was going to, they took a big risk. They probably were going to lose, period. But let's take a look at this witness list, guys. And let me show you. I'm sure, like I said, most of you had most of the day to go and find these people. I found quite a few, except for 2. And, people were sending me information about some of the ones that I didn't find, which thankfully you guys have clued me in on some possibilities, which I've confirmed that it is them. So let's just go down the list. I thought it was really interesting, half of the people that I did find. And 2 of the people that I talked about just recently the other day, the 3 guys that were out bar hopping that night that they questioned on the ISP documents, definitely was the people that I thought that I found on the Washington website for Professor and some of the other people that were there. I can't hear when my sister chooses to run the sweeper. Oh my gosh, I know this is an after hours late night. Yes, Wicca. They made sure the defense would have no strategy to stand on. Yep. Yep, absolutely. Which makes me question this whole entire case. Yep, how to get away with murder. And that is a good point. I made a video and we had a live just a little while ago, and I showed the video of the guy sitting behind the computer saying the exact time that this happened was 3:48. And then another video, and I got called out for, was a third-party video of T-Rev and the guy that said that called in and asked the frat guys, how do you get away with murder? Yep. I just played that not too long ago. And that always sits in the back of my mind. Didn't the judge put his plea of guilty in because BK didn't answer him? Absolutely. When he went in front of the magistrate, before Judge was his judge and assigned, he did not speak. He stood silent. And that is a right that you have. So standing silent means basically that you're not going to even respond. It's basically like not even saying that that's your name that they're calling out and putting on this piece of paper. So that was really interesting that he remained silent. So Alessandra Ferris was at the University of Idaho at the time. She was minoring in finance, in accounting. And I found it very odd, some of these individuals and where they came from. Now, she was originally in Pullman, Washington, went to school there. She worked a few jobs before she went into, school, but she was at the University of Idaho. That was the very first individual on the defense witness mitigation list. And then Amanda Kohberger was on there. And I have dug the majority of the day looking for anything in regards to Amanda. Okay? Because I'm just curious. There were a lot of rumors in the beginning of this whole released just atrocity that really had me questioning, was she in the area? I remember a rumor, and this is just rumor, that she was in the area. And this magazine, article, online, whatever, it's moviedialect.com. And they're talking about Bryan Kohberger's parents and sisters. And they say Amanda has not publicly spoken about her brother's case, but some sources, there's always that source, close to the family have claimed that one of Bryan's sisters began suspecting him of the involvement in the murders even before his arrest. So, what would make a sister so sure that you could possibly be involved in something like this? I mean, honestly, think about this. Now, we all know, if you don't know, she is some type of therapist. And she works with adolescents, I believe. Don't quote me on that, but I did come across something of that nature. And not only on top of that, she was said, in the tabloids and the rumor and all that stuff, allegedly that she was unsettled by his strange behavior. So let me get this straight. You grew up around your brother and you didn't notice this strange behavior until after a murder took place? Like you didn't know his quirky autism tics, his mental breakdowns, his perhaps meltdowns, his triggers, or a mental therapist standpoint. I mean, isn't that what she was trained in? Now, I don't know the exact capacity, but wouldn't it be kind of odd that she would not know this before a murder, but now all of a sudden she's thinking, oh, okay. So this is what she said his strange behavior was: using latex glove indoors at all times. Mind you, this was right, a little bit after COVID, in the middle of the pandemic. Okay. So people do have strange behaviors with germophobia, right? They use latex glove indoors, outdoor. I mean, I use them outdoors when I garden. But I find it very odd that she's a mental therapist, but he's going to get his PhD. Was there some type of sibling jealousy that he was actually doing more than her? Or he was maybe more disciplined than her, smarter than her? Because don't get me wrong, autistic individuals are very intelligent. Their brain functioning is much different, but I'm just saying they have a capacity to be more focused. And I digress when medicated, but I don't know what his background is at all in that retrospect. So they said it had been reported that she even attempted to search his car at one point, but found nothing incriminating. Gee, golly whiz, Batman. She found nothing incriminating, and neither did the FBI. Okay? Neither did the FBI. They found no DNA of the victims, no dog hairs, no blood, no nothing. But yet, Amanda's reported that she didn't find anything in his car. Okay. Well, the identity of his sister has not been officially confirmed. Speculation has pointed towards Amanda as the one who may have harbored early doubts. If true, her perspective could play a significant role in the upcoming trial that never happened. And her observations might provide insight into Bryan's state of mind in the weeks leading to his arrest. Now, with that in mind, Amanda Kohberger was in fact on the state's list to be called as a witness. She was in fact on this list to be called as a witness. Amanda Kohberger, right there in black and white highlighted. So, if you're on the list to be called by the state and be called by the defense, in my humble opinion, they're going to cancel each other out. It won't have much weight of bearing in what she would probably have to say. So is this just gibberish, all alleged? Don't know. We probably may never know. But that DNA that I talked about this morning just makes me speculate that if only 1% was Bryan Kohberger's and 4% was a female, was the 4% female DNA of the same family lineage? Is that even possible? Could that be a possibility? I don't know. I'm no DNA expert, but according to the documents, it specifically said, and I'll share it, and I'm not here to bash, slander, or harm anyone. It said, when it came to the DNA of the suspect profile, they said that let me get it. Okay. It says specifically on December 27, 2022, Pennsylvania agents recovered the trash from the Kohberger family residence in Albrightsville, Pennsylvania. That evidence was sent to the ISP lab for testing. On December 28, 2022, 2 days before he was arrested, the Idaho State Lab reported that a DNA profile obtained from the trash and the DNA profile obtained from the sheath identified a male as not being excluded as the biological father of suspect profile. At least 99.9998% of the male population would be expected to be excluded from the possibility of the suspect being, possibility of the suspect's of being the suspect's biological father. The suspect's biological father. Could that have been in the DNA that was done, that we looked at earlier, folks, on Justice for All? Could that, let me pull this up, could that be possibly the reason she was being called as a witness on both sides? Is it a possibility? I mean, would it be so far to speculate that this could possibly be the female portion of the DNA? Is it? Could it be? Is this how he did this and got away with it? I don't know. I'm speculating, 100% speculating. But they were ready to stipulate that this was not his DNA, period. The mixture was not Bryan's DNA. But the profile of the DNA was 5%. Unknown contributors, 5%. Unknown male was only 1%. The other 4% could possibly be a female. So is that even a possibility? Guys, you got me there. But she was on the list to testify for the state and the defense. All speculation. So Angela Alvarez, AA on number 3. This was an easy one because I remember an article that I saw and I remembered who AA was. That was Kohberger's neighbor. And I found an old article that talked about AA. And in this article, it said, neighbor Angela Alvarez said she stopped attending classes after the student murders, but little did she know the killer was living on the floor above her. I don't think she had anything to do with, other than she could come in as a character witness. But remember, this same neighbor in the MPD documents, guys, said that Kohberger was outside one evening. Let me pull it up. And was talking on the stairs. Let me see if I can find it. Was outside talking on the stairs, and she was sitting there with her husband, and Kohberger was sitting on the stairs talking with some guy that drove up on a motorcycle. The motorcycle was extremely loud, and basically her and her husband walked up, and then all of a sudden him and this guy that was visiting him stopped talking. Okay, I don't know if you remember that document, but that was in the MPD document. I'm trying to pull it up real quick. They were neighbors, and that checks out that they were neighbors. And I owe you a MPD document number on that one. So the next individual on the list was also in a newspaper article. It was someone, perhaps Ann Parham. She was what was she? I'm trying to pull them up and close them out as I go through this list. She was in Pennsylvania, and it was one of Kohberger's former academic advisors. That's who that was. So she was an academic advisor. An old article I found right here, she was called being as a witness, and that was the leak that I talked about earlier. So somebody had been leaking these individuals' names. Anastasia Hurt Morin. This one was an interesting one. So Anastasia, let me go back to my list. She is a police officer. Yep, police officer. And she is actually part of the Native American tribe. And I remember hearing her name before, and she has just a really good, enthusiastic career. She's passionate about creating safe communities. And I don't know how he would know her, but she enjoys practicing jiu-jitsu, kickboxing, reading, and riding her motorcycle. And I kept thinking, how would someone know her? Right? I mean, you can go out there and you can look on Facebook. You can look wherever you want, right? There are some people with this name, I'll show you, that I found. And it could possibly be her, right? There is nothing that would indicate that it could possibly be her other than her name. So all this is alleged. That was all there was. Washington Air Force Base, Medical Lake High School. That's what she likes. So those are some of the sports teams that may be involved with. But there was very little information. Now, if you are a police person, right, and law enforcement, anything like that, you want to keep a lot private. So this might be her. I don't know for sure. But if that is, then is there any relation there to any of the other people that we've heard? I'm not sure. I don't know. But it could be possible connections. Now, there is no list, and I will do Nick's, and we'll just go see if she's on Nick's list, because Nick's list is still open as of the other day when I checked. So, is perhaps there was no results. I mean, that was my first indication, was to see maybe if they knew each other somehow, some way. You know, I even went to his friends' friends. No connection. I went to Lena's connections. None. So I don't know if somebody knows that knows that knows. No connection. I looked at all her connections, their connections, other connections. No connection. So, I mean, yeah. Phoenix, yes. Hunter, Chapin, and Maisie are on the list for the state, not the defense. For the state, not the defense. So that was Anastasia. So let's go back to the list and keep rolling down the list. Ariel Meyer was an easy one that I found, and she actually, hold on one second, let me pull it. I found her in LinkedIn. This is interesting. She was a PhD candidate instructor. She lives now in Sparks, Nevada, and she did have some contact in Nevada previously, which I thought was pretty interesting. So she was interested in the University of Nevada, Washington State University. She was an instructor at Washington State University. Real well-rounded individual, and also a doctor of philosophy. Interesting. So you can go and you can check her out. She's legitimate. That is another professional that was going to be called to his trial, probably as a character witness, and asked, do you think that Kohberger could have done this? No, probably not. So, I mean, this was his defense witness list. Ashley DeTore, let me see. I don't think I found, did I find her? Yes, I did find her. She is a doctor. I believe so. Hold on. Yes. Okay. I did find, yes. Okay. So she was a doctor, and she was a student. She was at the time a student services specialist at Washington State University. So she had to have been perhaps in contact with Bryan Kohberger, and maybe attended a class or a friend, or who knows. But in my humble opinion, she was another professional coming in to testify in his behalf, in his favor, whether it be a character witness or the old adage question, do you think that Mr. Kohberger could have committed this crime? No, especially with two unknown male DNAs. Very, 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 very high possibility that that he would have had more professionals come in and say, nope, I don't think he would have done this. I don't think he had the possibility of a capability. The next individual, number 8, was Aubrey Scott. For the sake of time, I'm just going to run through these. Found her. I don't know. There's a lot of people named Aubrey Scott. Looked everywhere. I think this is the one that I could not find. There was nobody in and around Washington, not Idaho, not Pennsylvania. And the only person I found was some student that was in Colorado. So I don't think I located Aubrey Scott. Augustine, I didn't contact him. I found him. He's next on the list, number 9. Again, another professional. So you see where I'm going with this morning when I said that. Another professional neuroscientist at Pullman, Washington University. He's got some really good studies that he's done. I mean, he was a research assistant, doctoral candidate, done a lot of research in marine biology. I mean, this guy is like smart. I'm like, he's embarrassing smart, guys. Okay. So I'm sure he would be another individual that was children's education, health, science, and technology, social services. I'm sure he was another individual that would come and say, yes, Bryan is a stand-up guy, right? I mean, trying to show the level of professionalism. Brandon, we already know who that was. CE has been totally redacted to protect this individual. Don't know who that was. Christian Maynard, let me see, in Washington is a sociologist at Washington University. This guy studies and researches cannabis, the legalization of cannabis. And I don't know how he knew Bryan, but this is one of those things that, is there a connection here? I don't know about that. I don't know, but I found it very interesting, the connection there. The next one on the list, and I'll just leave it there, was Craig Hemmons. Craig Hemmons is hold on, let me pull it up. Oh, this is the guy that I just read to you about the other night, the Criminal Justice Department and criminology. He was the guy that allegedly was bar hopping with his friends, you guys. And he says, I'm a professor. And one of my students emailed me and said that they would be attending the memorial from Washington. Yes, folks, this is one of the guys. This is one of the guys. And so the next guy on the list was Dale Willett. Somebody had already said who that was. He was a Washington State University professor of criminal justice. And I'm sure you guys remember this guy that I've shared in the past before. Truly interesting. These are the guys who all worked in the lab with the guy that works for government contracts. Very interesting dynamic. So, I mean, when you start looking at some of the people that they were bringing in as witnesses for the defense, mitigation 2, I think it was very interesting that it was probably going to have some weight and bearing. All these professional people that he worked with, you never know what people are going to say. You never know. But I'm sure that they did the due diligence first. And basically would have known what they were going to say. We don't know. So Dane Carroll was a professor at DeSales. Remember when I showed you all the professors list when I figured out who that person was in the ISP documents? That was one of the people that were going to come to be a witness for the defense, stage 2 mitigation. And that was Dane Carroll. Daniel Parafit. Did I find this individual? Yes, an older gentleman in Pennsylvania. I don't know what bearing that he would have been able to share, but he was on the list. Eileen Novak, she is a professional in mental health and therapy. She is in Allentown, Pennsylvania. So I'm sure that this was somebody that was involved with Bryan. She's been in practice since I think 2007, I believe. And so perhaps somebody in his past that he's worked with, or clinical child and adolescent psychology. So in my humble opinion, that probably would have been somebody that would be able to step in. And that was Eileen Novak, I believe. Yeah, Eileen Novak. And let me see who else is on here. The DO expert we've already seen in court documents, Ellen Trexler. Ellen Trexler, I don't think I found her. This was a little hard one. There was a lady in Florida, no relation to the case, but I mean, that one's still out. Esteban Pena was another individual that I found in Allentown, Pennsylvania, probably another character witness. And let me see who else. Who else is on that list? I think I just closed it. Dang it. I hate when that happens. Let me grab it again. Real super quick. Amended witness list. Okay, here we go. And then let me grab this one just so I have it up at the same time. All right. So who else is next on our list? Esteban Pena, Ethan Ogden. Ethan Ogden was at the university. This one was someone I did not find yet, so that's the third one. And I think that's it. All the other ones I found. Eugene Miller is in Pennsylvania. He was going to be a character witness. And Flavio Olivares is the first number 3 Angela Olivares husband. They interviewed both of them. That's who Kohberger was sitting on the stairs at the apartment talking to the guy with the motorcycle. They are the 2 witnesses saying that he did interact with others, I suppose. Who knows what they would have said, but that was another one. And let's just go through this real quick and see who else I had up. Jake Voigt. Jake Voigt is number 26. Hold on a minute. Oh, and then it gets really interesting. So hold on one second. Jake Voigt. Yes, here he is. Okay. This was weird. In Eagle, ISP, there is a Star, sorry, not Eagle. Star, in the Ada County Sheriff's Office, there was a deputy, and Lieutenant Jake Vaught was in charge of a team patrol. So this is my question, folks. Okay. Kohberger had connections with other police officers, lieutenants. I mean, we're talking some people, obviously that police officer that was with the reservation with the Native Americans. Now we're talking about Star Police, which is probably about 3 or 4 hours away from the University of Idaho. But he actually started his career in Ada County Sheriff's Office. Then he went to Elko, Nevada Police Department, and he was a patrol officer and a detective. Now, I know that Nevada keeps popping up over and over in this case, and I know that Bethany is from Nevada. Is there any possibility that Bethany and Bryan may be connected outside of Idaho? This was my thought when I kept seeing this play over and over again with people from Nevada. And I thought, if this guy started as a detective, or a police officer, patrol officer, and then went to Idaho, does anyone maybe know that? Now, I'll keep this under wraps. Doesn't Kohberger have family in Nevada, guys? Does anybody remember that? Did Kohberger have family in Nevada? Just asking. Type a 1 if you think he did, if you remember. Anyone? Now, before I show you the next thing that I found on this guy, because I dug a little deeper, okay? Okay. This, I think his aunt mentioned it. Yes. Okay, Amanda, you are on it. Okay. Now get this. Lieutenant Voigt that I just showed you with the Star Police, there was Idaho Statesman. It says Boise drug dealer down to the last hand in suit alleging a deputy purposely hit him with a car. Okay. A convicted marijuana dealer filed a claim in 2013, okay, that allegedly excessive force during an arrest earlier this year, he sued the Ada County Sheriff Gary Rainey, 11 patrol and jail deputies, and their supervisor. Okay. He's saying that Voight intentionally struck Adam. Now, when I read this article, my thought went to immediately they were on some type of drug task force. Okay. That's where my thought went. And then I started looking other places. And let me just pull this up so that you guys can see. This is the rabbit hole I've been spending some time in for the last couple of hours. Okay. Let me see if I can put this on the stage. Let me remove that, add that, make me smaller. Okay. So the last record of employment that I found was 2021, and he was making an annual salary of $116,000. That's like a high percentage for an individual in that type of position. So if he was the chief of police in Ada County, right? Usually, yeah, they make about that based on the average of his employees. I mean, it's not bad. It's not bad money, right? But I kept looking a little bit into this guy, and I kept saying, what relationship would Bryan Kohberger be in calling this individual? It's way past my bedtime comprehension level. I love you. It's almost 12. Get some rest, girl. Okay. So when you start looking into this guy, you're wondering what else has this guy been involved in? It's very quiet out there. You won't find much. You have to dig hard. I went through some archives. I'll bring you that in another day. Just know that there are some interesting connections that Bryan Kohberger knows. I'm sure we were getting ready to see just kind of what connections he had. And I think it's fair to say he was probably, allegedly, doing something to help take down maybe some type of informant. I'm not sure. But it's very interesting in what they were reporting that this witness could have impacted. Okay. This young drug dealer on the streets. And this guy basically injured that he was knocked to the ground by the cops' police car to catch him. Interesting stuff out there. So let's look at the next name on here. James Aiken was an expert we've already talked about. Jeannie Saylor. Did I find Jeannie Saylor? No, I don't think I found Jeannie Saylor. Most of these other people were all experts that they testified. William Searfoss was the prison guard that was talked about prior. Let me see if I can share this one. This one, it gets a little boring. I'm just going to tell you from here on out because most of these guys, we've already talked about them in the past. Let's see if I can throw this up here. So Searfoss, I think I found him. Yeah, right here. Works as a correction officer. We've talked about him before. Let me see who else is on this list. Family. Scott Kohberger is a young family member of his. Scott Kohberger, I believe, does live in Nevada. Don't quote me on that one. I'm still looking into that. And then other professionals that were already listed. There was a retired judge on there, guys. Mark Bossy is a mental therapy health counselor that probably was coming in to testify. Who knows? Mary Donna, she was a criminal justice PhD student and teaching assistant. So all of these people were professionals. Like I said this morning, the majority of them turned out to be professionals. And other than the curious people, there are 3 or 4 individuals on these lists that had something to do with police officers, retired, a judge, allegedly. So, I mean, there are a lot of people on this witness list of his that were in a professional capacity. And I believe they were going to duel it out in court. The frats, because obviously the defense is the state's witness list was majority were, a lot of frats. I haven't gone through this whole list. On the prosecution side, I went through the whole list on the defense side. So the majority of those individuals were, in fact, professionals. So let me see what you guys are saying. I want a trial. I know I want a trial too. I want a whole trial. I want every little bit of a trial, please. Remember the live dig with Bertie Phoenix about the party and the officers talking to someone and asking if he was in his program? Yes, but remember, that was the College Hill beat. I remember off the top of my head. That was Officer, God, what was his name? Was it Fudge? What was his name? Not Shane Emerson. College Hill beat. What was his name? Oh, okay. Hold on a minute. Let me get the video. I've got it. Let me grab it real quick. The College Hill beat. Hold on. And he was sitting by the car and he asked him specifically, "Aren't you in my class?" Yes, I remember that. But I wrote in and I asked, was Jack S. on the defense? No, he was not. And he was not on the prosecutor's witness list either. Was he on there? Hold on a minute. Yes, he was on the prosecution witness list. Yes, Showalter was. He's right here. John Showalter is on there. Now, that was the call about the fight. It was the College Hill beat. Let me just grab it. Hold on. I thought I had it bookmarked. It was the College Hill beat, and it was a program in Moscow. Or was it Pullman? Shoot. Which one? College Hill beat. No, it was Pullman. I don't know, but they responded back to me and they said that it was not Kohberger. They told me it was not Kohberger. They responded back to my inquiry. Okay, and I remember it was episode 6 off the top of my head. Let me grab it. Here it is. College Hill beat. A little further down. Right here.
Guys out. He's wearing a he's Have a good time.
Too much fun.
Right here.
So there's a lot going on right now.
I understand that, but
He's gonna get some tickets tonight.
are you in?
I am.
Okay. Were you at my program last week?
Officer Willis. Yes.
Yep. What did I tell you in that program? Come on, man. It's cold. I wouldn't be out here unless I had to be.
I'm not wearing a shirt on this. I'm
a cloud chaser. I
Now,
just want to be on film for
this guy right here. This guy looks so
Officer Willis. So,
freaking familiar. Right here. I don't remember where I've seen him before. He looks so familiar. This guy right here in this black sweatshirt next to the white sweatshirt guy.
I'm a cloud chaser. I just want to be on film for the Officer Willis show. You know what I mean? You're on it.
I'm on it. I'm excited. I'm here.
A cloud chaser. That's the first time I've heard that. That's funny.
Proper response for an injury accident in the area 1560 Northeast Brandyway, The Grove, time now 2341.
Now, this accident, I don't know if this is the one with that girl. I think this might be, no, that's not. I thought it was the accident. But that was the frat, and people were saying that was Kohberger, but they messaged me back and said, no, it wasn't. But when you pull up,
I understand that, but
Pennsylvania plate car
Are you
is
in-
there.
I am.
okay. Were you at my program last week?
Officer Willis? Yes.
Yep. What did I tell you in that program?
I know.
And it sounds like him.
Come on, man. It's cold. I wouldn't be out here unless I had to be.
I mean, I'm not wearing a shirt on this. I'm
a cloud chaser. I just want to be on film for the Officer Willis show. You know what I mean?
You're on it.
But there was a car there in the area. You got to play it really super slow. There was a car there. And someone did say it had Pennsylvania license plates. I can't remember exactly what mark it was, but yeah, Bryan doesn't drink, but they even responded back and said, no, it wasn't him.
I understand that, but
He's gonna get some tickets tonight.
are you in?
Now, I was assuming, watching this video, this car that's crazily parked here, I was assuming that the guy they were talking to, this was their trailblazer.
I am.
Okay. Were you at my program last week?
Officer Willis? Yes.
Yep.
Yeah, so they responded back that it wasn't. It wasn't. No, Officer Willis, he is well known. I'll show you the bio on him. He is, gosh, where did I know I saved it before too. I mean, he's got a really good background. He's very well known. I don't know why I bookmarked it. God knows. But if you go to that YouTube video and click on College Beat Hill, it's got a whole segment about him. And it'll tell you everything about Willis. Yeah, so
And we won the Apple Cup last year.
Whoops, that might have given it away. Sometimes Wazoo tends to get a little rowdy on the Palouse.
And that's where I come in.
now Film Stitch actually responded back to me and told me that was not, I'll repeat, not Kohberger in that episode. And they have about, I don't know, 6 or 7 episodes, but they don't even do this anymore. I haven't seen any new College Hill. And I think, in my humble opinion, they were showing stuff that has known to have problems, right? with the universities. So I think that kind of didn't really set the right expectations that they wanted to share. And in my humble opinion, that was probably a good thing to hide that. So not to fund that. So there you have it. There's who's on the witness list. Over 50 individuals. We covered about 90% of them. There's 3 I still haven't found. But technically, he is not in jail for life. Oh, is she in jail for life? No, she's not. No. Tried to say she didn't know where her car keys were. Yeah, she did try to do that. No, I think she was, I'll do a follow-up on her. What was her name again? Shoot. I knew you were going to do that. Yeah, she was arrested. She did have trial. We looked it up. I think she was entitled or elite, and they gave her a good deal. So hopefully that'll never happen again, and she won't have any run-ins with the law. But I think she was on probation. I remember that much. So, I mean, when you look at this witness list and you think, what were they bringing to trial? I think Kohberger had an excellent strategy plan placed out, that he was going to have some amazing witnesses come and testify on his behalf, that he was, in fact, a good person. And he couldn't have possibly done this unfortunate, horrible, terrible crime. Now, I have been so consumed, and I'm going to bring it to you tomorrow. There is, I actually have 2 things planned. Tomorrow morning, I'm going to bring you the sheet, the FOIA request that I put into the ISP. I am no longer asking for any more documents from Moscow Police Department, since the judge has decided to put a gag order on anything that is going to be released. No photos. Even if they are redacted, there will not be anything released. But that doesn't mean that the ISP cannot release information upon our request. And with that being said, there is something that I have been knee deep in that I want to share with you guys, because it had me questioning, so much so because Emily commented on a TikTok video of mine. It just made me dig a little deeper in who she really is. And why was she in Moscow? Subscriber only content, and we're going to look into Hunter Daniel Johnson in Boise, Idaho, and Emily Allant. Documents from Moscow, Idaho cost an estimated $117,000, according to Lana. That depends on what you're asking for when you ask for documents. A FOIA, if it's already been submitted once, they cannot charge you the full rate. But with that being said, they do have to have somebody pull these records, redact records, edit videos, all that good stuff. And it is a business, folks. It is very legal. This justice system is still a business. So, as always, you all are fantastic. Thanks for joining in. Watch the replay. Be well. And leave some love on the way out.
Listen up, the ashes stir, phoenix wings unfurl, seeking truth beneath the blur. Earnings for the lax to meet the blur. Out the flames I rise, wings scorched but unbroken. Truth the blaze I wield, every rhyme's a token. In the nest we move, hearts stump in unison. Searching for the light where the system cuts our wisdom. Built on lies and steel, they boxed us in cages. Now we break the locks, rewrite history's pages. Innocent until proven guilty, that's the oath we recite. Under this constitution we ignite the night. We rise like a phoenix in sync, we claim the street. Nest seekers united, our freedom can't be beat. Stand up when one falls, yeah we got your back. In a free land unbroken, we launch the righteous attack. Justice for the voiceless, break the chains of deceit. Innocent till proven guilty, our victory's complete. System cracked at the seams, built for just a few. We rip apart the scheme, bring the truth into view. Movement swells like thunder, souls fueled by conviction. Phoenix souls aligned, demanding our new vision. Marching on the courthouse banners, paint the sky. Echoes of freedom roar, watch the old guard comply. No more hidden verdicts, no more secrets sold. Every voice is a weapon, every story be told. Innocent till proven guilty, that's our final decree. Under this constitution we stand forever free. Phoenix in the dawn, truth ignites the sky. Together we stand tall, no more asking why.